Hi guys, so I've had some more games of 8th edition for Warhammer 40k. Tried out some interesting lists, so I wanted to go through how they did and also show you what the lists were. Right then, here we go. So in my first list, I took two very different lists. The first list I tried to take a more rounded list. I took one Talos, I took two Raiders, it may even have been three Raiders. I took 3 units of Racks, 2 Homunculuses, and the 3 Grotesques. So what did I change up from last time? Well, I put Liquifier guns on everything. 3 Liquifier guns here on those guys. Each, the Talos had 2 Liquifier guns. The Homunculuses had Liquifier guns, and each squad of 5 of these had 2 Liquifier guns as well. Because you remember last time I had a problem with, I'll just pick up one of the Liquifier guns to show you. I had a problem with Custodes, with Harry's Custodes. I just could not kill them with shooting or with close combat. These really leveled the playing field, to be honest. Because basically what they do is you roll a D3 to determine what the AP is. So the AP is going to be between 1 and 3, already fantastic. Then you roll a dice to see how many hits you get. So each one of these 5 was rolling 2 or 2 liquifiers, and then 1 from each of these guys, 2 from a Talos, and I'll explain how I put them all in Raiders in a minute. So you roll in loads of these multi-hit, automatic hit weapons, because basically they're flamers. Generally you're wounding on 5s, but that's not that much of a problem when you're rolling so many dice, which is pretty awesome. I need to potentially model these guys with those weapons, or I could make it so that one of these holes is actually, it's like built into their bodies. I'm not sure. I'm sure I can figure it out. I've got some liquifier guns that I can probably use from the Talos, even though I'm going to be equipping most of them with liquifier guns. The Cronos, or the ones that I've magnetized up as Cronos, won't need them, so I can probably sacrifice a couple and give them to the Grotesques. So how was I running it? So in 8th edition you're allowed to put more than one unit into a Raider, so I grabbed one Raider, like this, and I stuck 2 units of these guys into one. So basically this is a fast moving liquifier gun delivery system. Now this was delivering, so the first one was delivering 4 shots. That's from 2 of these units. That would make it full. The second one was basically got the 3rd unit plus a homunculus. Now that's 3, so 2 from the squad, 1 from him, so that's delivering 3 liquifier guns. And the last one was full of the 3 Grotesques and another homunculus. So that's basically another 4 liquifier guns. The Talos had 2 liquifier guns. So it was just, you could probably call it liquifier gun spam. But it's so good against all sorts of different models. From heavy armor to not. The only thing it really suffers with is tanks and transports, that sort of thing. It's not great against that because you're generally hitting on wounding on 8s, wounding on 6s after all is said and done. So that's basically the theme of the first army. The second army, if I just move these out of the way, this is what excited me the most when I saw the new rules for 8th edition. The second army looked a little bit like this. So, oh, he's come off his base. We had 4 Talos, 2 Cronos, and 2 Homunculus. And that was it. So this is a 1,000 points or 50. It's roughly 1,000 points, but it's also 50 power points. I'll get my words out eventually. So this is basically what I ran in my second army. Same size as the first one, but like this. So I put haywire on all of the tails of the Talos, the idea being that I couldn't kill armor with the first army, so I wanted to see if I could add a little bit of it into this army. Of course, each one had liquifier guns, and then I kept the close combat weapons nice and basic, because the basic one is actually fairly good. Then you got these 2 fellas, which are designed to heal wounds. I only managed to heal 1 wound in a turn. And then we've got these guys here. Now, Homunculuses historically a fairly weak, more support troops essentially. They're not the strongest, not the most durable of opponents. They go down fairly easily because it's essentially a 6-up, 5-up invuln, that sort of effort. But what I've actually found is equipping these with Electrocorrosive Whips is fantastic. Now they're poison, so they hit on 4-ups, so that's fantastic for hitting monstrous creatures, all sorts of things, but not great against vehicles. And then they're -2 AP, 2 damage. And it's not just these guys that can take them. There's also the Acathists from the racks. They also get to take one as well. So every 5-man unit of racks also had a Electrocorrosive Whip. And just to give you an idea, this is the joy of keeping all your bits. Look at that, all these whips. So some of these are Liquifier guns that I'm going to use with a new squad of racks to basically make loads of Acathists. So I'm going to make 5 new Acathists. Each one's going to have a whip and a Liquifier gun, and it's going to be absolutely glorious because it's such a powerful combo, being able to do that flamer hit, and then when you go into close combat, just wreck him face with -2 AP. And between the Liquifier guns and the homunculuses, in this game especially, I was able to take down the Custodes. I was able to do it in the first one. Oh, another change I made on the first game is I was running disintegrator cannons, even though I haven't... they're magnified, so I can change them out easily. I haven't painted the disintegrator cannons, so I haven't put them on the raiders. But I was running disintegrator cannons, which basically gives me higher rate of fire. Not amazing strength, but they've got -3 AP. So again, fantastic for taking out Custodes. You could say I tailored this slightly towards killing Custodes because they annoyed me so much last week where I wasn't able to do anything to them that I got frustrated. One thing I did find is that Haywire is pretty crap taken in low numbers. I mean, if I had 4 Talos here and they each had one, just the one. They didn't run as a double. They just had 1 Haywire each, essentially, which was a complete letdown. Mainly because I can't roll very well, but also because they're low strength. They're strength 4. But the interesting thing they do is that if you roll a 4-up to wound, you get a mortal wound. And if you roll a 6, you get D3 mortal wounds. Now, I can't roll 6s for Toffee. But on a 4-up, I got a couple of mortal wounds, but that's the only wounds I was able to do. Now, in about 10 shots over about 3 turns, for all firing at a Chimera, I took off 3 wounds from the Chimera. So I'm writing off Haywire for now, and I'm going to try next time Heat Lances. A little bit more strength on a Heat Lance, less range, no mortal wounds, but -5 AP, so they may as well be mortal wounds, except if something's got the old invulnerable, and D6 damage, so they should really be able to knock off some wounds from those vehicles. So that's the plan. I'm thinking this is awesome. I had such a lot of fun playing these guys that I think that this is just the way I'm going to go from now on. I've got another one of these behind me. So in total I've got 7 of the engines. These guys being the Parasite engines, those being the Pain engines if you're a classic Dark Eldar player such as myself. I love the models as well. It's one of my favourite models. Until I got the Age of Sigmar Vermin Lord, these were my favourite models of all time. I just love them, and I mean they're all magnetised as well, so I can I can actually run them WYSIWYG with whatever I fancy as well, which is absolutely brilliant. So all the hands come off, the guns on the tails come off. Ah, just love it. That comes off. The tails themselves come off as well, which is helpful if you're converting them into these fellas. So I think that's all I wanted to cover at the moment, except maybe that these guys, I'm finding that they're not great in close combat. Neither of them, neither the Cronos or the Talos are actually that good in close combat. It might be what they were fighting against, but I found them a bit of a letdown. So basically most of this stuff is doing strength 6 hits, because that's the strength they are, and then we're doing -1 AP and 2 damage. And that -1 AP, especially when you're fighting against the kind of things that you're going to throw a Talos against, which are big Gribblies, it really doesn't do all that much, which is a bit of a shame. These did so much more damage the whips in close combat than the Talos did. I found that they were much more useful at delivering liquifier guns and doing the damage that way, which was awesome. So I need to readjust how I run these guys. Like I say, lances to take out vehicles within 18 inches, liquifier guns to kill anything that's not a vehicle, and yeah, just only use them in close combat against things that are okay-ish, I guess. The only way you can make them more powerful at hitting, really, is by taking the Ichor injectors. Now, Ichor injectors rely on you rolling a 6 to do mortal wounds, which I never do. Ran Ichor injectors last week, didn't do a single wound because I can't roll. Like I say, 6 is for toffee. So there we have it. So that's basically my recap of the games. Both of the games ended where he had his vehicles left. So he had Chimera, he had Taurox Prime, and Valkyrie. Those 3 were left and nothing else. So both of these lists, with the haywire that I had, and also the fact that they're all fairly killy in close combat, especially these guys. These are absolutely ridiculous in close combat. So many hits and hitting really, really hard. So yeah, I just took out all of his infantry. Basically, all that was left was tanks. And that's why I'm sort of thinking that I need to run the heat lances, and I'm almost considering putting the dark lances back on the raiders as well if I run some raiders. It depends. Depends if I decide to go all these guys, in which case I don't need the raiders. I mean, I like raiders, but I've never been that much of a fan of using them, especially transporting them. Although these aren't much better at being transported, let's be honest, even though they do come apart. So that's what I've taken from my second 2 games. I need more time with them to figure out the nuances, like I say, trying out the heat lances, trying to figure out what I can and can't charge, because I don't know, I was charging these guys into custodes and they were doing nothing, and I was backing out of combat and letting some other things hit them, and then the liquifier guns were just wrecking face, to be honest. So that is basically where I am, even though wounding on 5's still absolutely fantastic. So if you're playing a Dark Eldar army, you're not sure what to do with your Coven, hopefully I've given you some ideas. If you're not sure how to run these guys and these, hopefully I've given you some ideas as well. With these, I think the Flamer is probably the better option rather than using the blast weapon, even though not a blast template, but it basically you have to roll to hit, but you're doing lots of... You roll to see how many hits you get, which is essentially what a blast weapon does in this edition. So hopefully I've given you some ideas on how to run these things, and I'm having an absolute blast. I actually won a game using the Talos, which I really wasn't expecting. I put them on the table. I was expecting to be blown off the table within like a turn, and it really didn't work out that way. To my surprise, to my utter joy, I was actually able to eke out a small victory, which is a rarity for me. Certainly a rarity when trying random lists like this. Oh, and I need a name for them. So, anyone who's waited to the end of the video, stayed with me this long because I've been rambling for far too long, I need a name for the list. So I was going to go with Monster Mash, but Monster Mash has been used several times for Chaos lists in 7th, for Tau, suits. I need some kind of list. So they're engines, they're monsters, I don't know, and they're dark. I mean, Monster Mash works a lot better for these because they're evil, they're creepy, better than those other crap. Putting it bluntly and rather weird. Anyway, so if you can think of a list name for these guys, put it down in the description. I don't mean a list. Sorry, I don't mean a name for my Coven. I think I've got one of those. I need to remember it. It's in some fluff that I did about 3 years ago. But I need a kind of name for the concept of taking pain engines and homunculuses and nothing else. So if you have an idea of that, let me know down in the description or in the comments down below, and yeah, let's see who can come up with the best one, and we'll discuss it on the next video I do of these guys. I'm thinking I need to buy a lot more of these. Right then, thank you very much for watching. Keep up with me in between videos over here, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Stay well, guys.